see what I can do here. Oh, hello viewers. Another beautiful day. Hope your five senses work. Health and strength is good or excellent. Alright, look, we got an article here, but to me this is PC Games In probably ranting. But I'll explain. Listen to this. It says this is the Steam Deck's biggest problem, and no, it isn't the aging its CPU. It's not, if not for Linux incompatibility of some anti-cheat software, the game library on Valve Gaming handheld would be untouchable. I love gaming on my Steam Deck, but it's becoming increasingly frustrating to see huge games bypass the handheld, all because some anti-cheat software doesn't play nice with Linux. This feeling is renewing following the reveal of F125, a franchise that will be unplayable on the Steam Deck for as long as EA persists with its proprietary anti-cheat software. Despite being the best gaming handheld, there's no doubt the Steam Deck has its drawbacks. One huge issue is the age of its AMD chip, which contains the CPU and GPU, and is now struggling to keep up with modern AAA games such as Doom: The Dark Ages. So despite this, anti-cheat is the biggest threat to the Steam Deck dominance, as it's already had a huge impact on the game library. We're also likely to see the Steam Deck eventually release with better hardware, but it won't be able to fix this anti-cheat crisis. Anti-cheat software causes compatibility issue with Linux because of kernel level difference between Windows and Linux. Most developers understand the appeal of much larger user base on Microsoft's operating system, leaving Linux and the Steam Deck gamers out in the cold. Says the most notable title currently unplayable on the Steam Deck, either entirely or with large parts of content missing, include Grand Theft Auto 5, the EA FC series, Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Rainbow Six Siege, and even Fortnite. These are some of the biggest games in the world, and for the most part they're complete non-starters on Steam Deck. The problem is so prominent that there is even a site dedicated to tracking games with anti-cheat software and their compatibility Linux and other niche operating system. It's called We Are Anti-Cheat. Yet it says over 1,100 games are tracked, and there is even a handy breakdown of which provider are used and how many games still runs in some compatibility despite running an anti-cheat system. We can see the 15 games in total use EA anti-cheat. None of them works on the Steam Deck in the capacity, with 365 games are tracking using easy anti-cheat, with only 6 of those games deemed incompatible, but a further 193 are classified as broken, meaning any online aspect of the game is locked away due to the anti-cheat system. In the grand scheme of things, are We Anti-Cheat yet only lists 41 total games that are denied due to the anti-cheat, but 633 are broken. This totals 674 games that don't work as intended due to anti-cheat software, a huge number, and it includes some of the biggest games around. Then it says there is a need for anti-cheat software. That's not up for debate, but it's time to find solutions to this problem that doesn't exclude people who are quickly becoming substantial part of the market, Steam Deck or Steam OS users. And it says here's hoping that as the Steam Deck continues to win over gamers and Steam OS make his way to even more handheld now that it's entered an open beta phase, developer reconsider nonchalantly excluding Linux users. And it says here, for a chance to win one of Valve's handheld, you can check out this NVIDIA's Steam Deck OLED competition. If you're already a deck owner, you can check out our picks for the best Steam Deck games, where we pick out 30 incredible titles that run natively on the Steam Deck. Alright, Okay, what does this all mean? Look, that's the end of the article. What does this all mean? Okay, here's the deal. When it comes to the Steam Deck, the anti-cheat problem is not a Valve issue. It's not a Steam Deck issue. It's a developer issue. If you could recall, like when the Steam Deck came out, Valve was telling the developers to check the box. But some developers now use that as a way to withhold games from the Steam Deck. If you remember, Bungie was the first, if I could recall, Bungie was the first one that came out and they said they were going to ban players from anybody that tried to install Destiny 2 on the Steam Deck. They were going to get banned. And then Epic with Fortnite, they try to talk about user base numbers on Linux. That's why Fortnite is not there. And then you got EA with their anti-cheat, and of course let's not forget Roblox with their tirade that their little drama that they try to start, and then they carried on from there. Grand Theft Auto Rockstar need to. That's a Rockstar issue. So people try to say Linux has cheaters, but what they're failing to realize is that Windows has cheaters too. So does Nintendo. So does PlayStation. So does Xbox. No platform is exempt from having cheaters on it. So that's why you see the Steam Deck is getting the so-called flack. That so-called flack, it's the developer. They choose to do this. It's not the Steam Deck. It's not Valve. And the editor that wrote this, he's probably a Nintendo fan too. So I'm just putting that out there for emphasis. Because some people will throw some tantrums and they try to act like they didn't know about this and they try to make a big deal out of it. But it's usually the developers. They're the ones that's doing this. It's not the Steam Deck. It's not Valve. They choose to go down this route, and that's the route they choose. Now, with NVIDIA GeForce Now, the GeForce Now app on the Steam Deck, it should bring some it should make you be able to play some of the games that are mentioned here on the list. And what this site called We Are Anti-Cheat, that's tracking how many games are not playable on the Steam Deck. It's not a Linux issue. It's not a Valve issue. It's not a Proton issue. It's not a Wine issue. It's not a Steam Deck issue. It's a developer problem, and that's what all this comes down to. Because look, We Are Anti-Cheat. Let's see what they're talking about here. What do they got? They let's see. What's this? They're talking. They says We Are Anti-Cheat. Yet, and it says over 1,100 games are tracked, and there's even a handy breakdown of which providers are used and how many games still run in some capacity, despite running an anti-cheat system. And then it says we can see that 15 games in total uses EA anti-cheat. 15. So let's not forget, you got to get let's say you want to play Anthem on the Steam Deck. You have to get the Lutris. I think it's the Lutris loader to do it. Anyway, it says here 15 games in total use EA anti-cheat. All right, none of them works on the Steam Deck in any capacity. That's because EA choose to do this. Then it says 365 games are tracked using EA anti-cheat, with only 6 of them deemed incompatible, but a further 193 are classified as broken. These are the developers doing this, and if you look at the reason why the developers, you can see that they want to so-called blame Linux, but the other reason too is that because Windows have a big user base, which would pull in more revenue. That's the other part that this article don't talk about. So that's why some of the games on the Steam Deck they don't work. But it says here, what it says here, 6. It says in the grand scheme of things, We Are Anti-Cheat only lists 41 games that are denied due to the anti-cheat, but 633 are broken in total. Games that don't work intended due to anti-cheat. What's that software? And it says this total 674 games that don't work. That's the developers. The other thing too about this article too, you can use you got Proton Hotfix, Proton Experimental, you have Proton, but then you have GE Proton or Proton GE that you can use, on the Steam Deck to play some of these games, so I'm sure the number is not that big. It's probably less than that, but you got to use Proton, GE Proton to run some games, that are on the Steam Deck. But this issue though is not a Valve issue. That's one. It's not a Linux issue. That's two. It's not a like what Proton issue or anything like that. It's not a Steam Deck issue. It's the developers that are doing this. And if you read the reasons why they do this, you have to look at them like, okay, why are you? What are you in the game industry for? You're supposed to be making video games, right? So they're not supposed to be taking sides with these operating systems, because they need to really worry. They need to really focus. They need to try to survive this market. So they need every platform user base they can find. They really shouldn't be like taking sides with this, unless, like, let's use Microsoft for a minute. Microsoft, what did they do? They bought unless you're owned by Microsoft. Let's say Microsoft bought the studio, then then you have to make games for them because you're under their umbrella. But if you're just a third-party studio that's out there, and you're not under anybody's umbrella, any platform umbrella, whether it's Nintendo, Sony, Xbox, whether it's PC or Mac, if you're not under anybody's umbrella and you're an independent studio, you really can't afford to be taking sides about which platform you're going to develop for. That's a no-no. You ain't got time for that, because you need every revenue you need every revenue that you can get to survive this video game market. So this is a developer issue. This ain't a Steam Deck issue. This ain't a Valve issue. This ain't a Linux issue. It's a developer's issue. So if you're not under anybody's umbrella, meaning, like, let's use Microsoft again, like when they bought ZeniMax, Bethesda, Mahjong, and Activision Blizzard. If you're an independent studio, you're not under anybody's umbrella, you really don't have no time picking sides about who you want to make games for. You're supposed to be making games for every platform so you can survive this market. So every user base number count. So yeah, so this all comes down to the developers. That's all. This is what all this boils down to. And this ain't a Steam Deck issue. No, it ain't. This ain't a Steam Deck issue. It's some developers want to make things personal. Who should I use here? Bungie is one of them, and EA is another, and of course Epic with Fortnite. They're looking at user base numbers, but they shouldn't be taking sides about who got the bigger user base. No, especially if you're independent, because you need all user base that you can find, to survive this market. So yeah, that's my thoughts on survive this market. So if you're independent, you're supposed to be making games for say Apple, Linux, Windows, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. You're not supposed to be taking sides in this game industry. So yeah. Anywho, man, I'm sitting here messing with this Steam Deck. I'm sitting here messing with it. Anyway, but yeah, but I love playing on it. But I usually connect this to the TV and play on it. So yeah, yeah. So, but other than that, man, it's a developer's issue, man. It ain't it ain't the Steam Deck. It ain't Linux. They ain't Valve, you know. And if developers trying to live in this fake denial world, like it's only Linux that's, oh, Linux has cheaters. No, cheaters are everywhere. They're on Mac, they're on Windows, they're on Linux, they're on PlayStation, they're on Xbox, and they're on Nintendo. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this video for y'all to enjoy though. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, still a Star Wars Star Trek fan. Vortex Edge. Go. Peace. Oh, mouse.